Martin's Laugh-In, a wondrous mark on our nation's comedy history. Started in 1968 by Dan Rowan and Dick Martin, the eccentric moving show really hit it off with the audience, dazzling spectators. One may argue that the show did not offer anything to the ways of humor, but in reality it did, and it used some things to set it aside from the pack. One of those things was characters.
Waiter, there's a fly in my soup.
There were many characters on the show, and to add variety, they were all different. Among them was Goldie Hawn, the dumb blonde played by herself. She would enter the shot randomly and spurt out giggles the whole time.
And now with the news of the future, here's our man of the future. Here's Dan.
Goldie, that was perfect. But you know something else? I'm not surprised.
Oh? Well, I'll get it right when we tape it.
Another female actress from the show was Lily Tomlin, but unlike Goldie, she wasn't a regular until 1970, when ratings began to dwindle. However, those ratings skyrocketed back up when Lily strutted into character because no one could play the nasally telephone operator better.
Sinatra. Oh, I've torn some Ma Bell property. Let's see. S. Oh, here it is, in the yellow pages under swingers. One ring-a-ding-ding. Two ring-a-ding-ding. Oh, gracious, good afternoon.
We have Dan Rowan and Dick Martin, the two equally likely co-hosts, and they enjoyed playing their parts differently on the show, each sparring at each other with verbal words for at least 5 minutes.
Good night, Mrs. Pickles, wherever you are.
Good night.
Good night.
As you can see, the characters were quite the hilarious bunch, but it was not only their appearances that made the program what it was. It was also the fast pace. It skipped from skit to skit in the blink of an eye, making it very difficult for the audience to catch up. Let's take a closer look.
There is no big finish, folk.
Doing the Laugh-In show is my second favorite thing in the whole world. My first is having an unclean yak sit on my dinner.
Well, Mr. Robinson, how do you feel about appearing on a comedy show?
Sounds like a good idea. You know one?
Wherever I go, all over the world, people are always asking me about Laugh-In, and they all ask the same question.
And there we have it. This pace was basically designed to keep the audience very engaged, allowing for no other activity to go on while they were watching the show. As I was saying, there was also something that tied in to the quick pace. This something was a type of comedy brought back to life by the show called shtick. Shtick was when one or more persons would have specific catchphrases on each episode, becoming quite a mainstay. A couple of these were, "You bet your sweet bippy," and "Sock it to me." These were said by all characters on the cast at appropriate times on the show.
It's suck it to me time.
No, hold it, Judy. There's no socket to you tonight.
Oh, no?
Mm-mm.
Oh, thanks, fellas. Ta-ra.
Hey.
Yes, no, yes, and no to that lady in Parma, Ohio. You bet your sweet bippy.
However, unlike "You bet your sweet bippy" and "Sock it to me," there was one that stayed true to its person. This saying was very interesting, and it was spoken by the German soldier portrayed by Artie Johnson.
Very interesting, but it would never make it as a series. Good night, Lucy. You're still the queen in the kingdom of my heart. You too, Jerry.
Shtick. And the last thing that contributed to the show's success was the actual types of skits. They had situational, absurd, slapstick, you name it, they had it. For instance, for situational, a man talks about a misbehaved kid and ends with quite a rough way on how to deal with him.
The precocious child. If your child is constantly arguing with you, try the Laspogo method. First appeal to his high intelligence. using logic in a firm eye-to-eye confrontation, relying on the child-parent relationship in giving and taking in a reasonable way. If this doesn't work, use the Wasserman method. Break a chair over his
For absurd, a man eats a fruit salad right off a woman's hat.
I think I'll have the fruit salad. Right.
And slapstick, the traditional socking it in the eye, kicking them in the knee. They even had a joke wall in which the characters would pop out of the wall at the end of the show, yelling random comments that had nothing to do with anything and yelling at each other constantly. Let's view a couple of these examples, shall we?
Do you know how big an orange is? No, but it wouldn't take many to make a dozen. Oh.
Henry? Bad word to you, Henry. What have you got against doctors?
No, mostly litty baby.
Hey, oh, that's fabulous.
And there we have it. Ranging from wacky characters to newfound pace and comedy to situational skits. The show had it all, which is what made it so popular in the eyes of the public. Sadly, it ended its run in 1973, but not before leaving a mark for the nation to remember.